Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So in today's video I want to talk to you about 3 ways to get a better tone on the violin. So there are more than 3 ways to get a better tone on the violin, but these are the kind of the 3 main ones that I feel are going to help you especially when you're first starting out, to get a better tone on the violin. But first, so before I go into the video, I just wanted to talk to you all and let you all know that I have a 1 to 30 violin course, which is these books actually behind me. Now, my course is 100% downloadable. They're not physical books. These are books that I've just printed out myself at home. But the course is available to download, and it takes you through 30 videos. So the first 10 videos, or the first 10 lessons 1 to 10, are completely free. So all the resources, any downloadable PDFs, all that kind of thing are always free, and they're always linked underneath the videos. But my 1 to 30 course will take you from a complete beginner violinist, so you know absolutely nothing about the violin at all. It will take you from being a complete beginner violinist to a very accomplished intermediate violin player. And my course is 100% guaranteed. And I know that's a bit of a bold statement to make, but I absolutely stand by my course. I'm a classically trained violinist, so I teach more in that way. And all of these books will teach you everything you need to know. So the first 10 lessons, as I said, are absolutely free. Then you would move on to Songbook 1, and that is the start of the book series that we've got. Songbook 1 is 10 pieces that are arranged by myself to be at the exact same level as what you would have learned through lessons 1 to 10. Then you would move on to lessons 11, 21 with book 2, which is this one here. And in this book, you'll be going through lots of technical exercises, scales, arpeggios, learning a little bit more about the violin, just kind of filling in the gaps in knowledge from lessons 1 to 10. So book 2 just answers a lot more questions and covers a lot more technical work. Once you've got to lesson 20, you'll then go to Songbook 2. Songbook 2 is 10 more pieces that have been arranged at the same level as lessons 1 to 10 and now 11 to 20, so kind of book 1 and then covering book 2 as well. Once you've done that, you'll move on to book 3, which is a lot more technical stuff, so you're going into a higher position on the violin. You're learning a lot more of the complicated stuff, so a lot more bowing techniques, just kind of adding in the sort of more final touches to really finesse the playing at that point. And then after you've got to lesson 30, there is a songbook, which is this one here, with 10 pieces, 10 violin pieces that have been arranged by myself that are at the level of everything that we will have done so far. Once you finish the course, that will leave you at an accomplished intermediate player. So that course is available to be downloaded, purchased and downloaded from my online shop, and I'll put a link to that coming up underneath. And then secondly, I wanted to tell you all about Patreon. I know a lot of you don't even know I have a Patreon site. Now, I've got a Patreon page where those of you, if you don't know what Patreon is, basically you just pledge on a monthly basis. Depending on how much you pledge will depend on what kind of benefits you get. So you pledge monthly, you get access to those benefits. You can cancel your pledge at any time. There's no kind of catches with it. It's completely up to you. But if you are just the first level tier and you're pledging on the first level, you will get access to hundreds, and I mean hundreds of sheets of music. I think last I checked, we're probably looking at around about I think nearly 800 sheets of music that have been arranged, violin sheets of music. There's some piano in there as well, actually. There's a good couple hundred piano pieces, but these are all pieces, violin pieces that I have arranged over pretty much my entire career of being on YouTube, which is since 2011. So yeah, next year we're coming up to 10 years. So it's a culmination of all the pieces that I've ever arranged that you will have access to on Patreon for just a few dollars a month. And like I say, it's up to you if you want to, how many months you want to pledge at a time. But there's no other platform, there's no other place online that you can go to that you can get access to that much specifically arranged sheet music. So I'll put the links to my book course behind me and the Patreon underneath. So getting on with the video. Okay, so the first way to get a better tone on the violin is to play with a flat bow. Now, I know a lot of you do see me and a lot of professionals playing with a tilted bow, and that's fine, but don't forget we've been playing for a really long time. As for beginners, I would always suggest that you play with a flat bow first. So a flat bow is going to give you a much thicker, fuller, kind of chunkier, fatter kind of tone, and playing slightly with a tilted bow, so you're going to be tilting away from you, never tilt towards you. That's tilting towards you is nothing. You just don't do it because your bow hand is in the wrong place, and your bow hand is in the wrong place, and you can't really do all the kind of positions, bow techniques and everything correctly. So always tilt the bow away from you if you are going to tilt. But as beginners and people just starting out, I would always suggest that you play with a flat bow, just because it does give you a better hand position. It does train your hand a lot better with the bow, and it is much easier to move to a tilted bow to a flat bow sort of later down the line. If you start moving into a tilted bow a little bit too soon before you've got the basics, then honestly I really do feel that you're going to be missing out on a lot of really good quality tone, and it's going to put you in a bit of a bad habit. If you can play flat bowed, you can play tilted bowed. If you learn to play tilted bow to start with, it's going to be very difficult to come back to that kind of flat bow. Do you see? So it's one of those things that you've got to get it the right way round. And trust me, you're not missing out on anything by not playing on a tilted bow. Playing with a tilted bow doesn't really, it's one of those things that more advanced players do, but then don't forget the pieces that they're playing are more advanced, and there's more to them. So there's more opportunities to be switching between flat bow and tilted bow. But as a beginner, there's nothing you're going to be doing that you'll need that tilted bow for. So, why cause yourself all the aggro to play with a tilted bow and then try to have to learn to get a better tone? So I think if you're playing with tilted bow, it's gonna be too risky, and I think you might end up tilting too much. I just don't think you're gonna get a very good sound. So a flat bow, tilted bow. So I don't know if that's coming out on camera too much, but the flat bow was a much more of a thicker, fuller, chunkier sound. You guys can try it at home and you'll see what I mean. And if you tilt that bow, it's a much more, just a much softer kind of technique. And that's really nice when you've got a particular piece of music that you want to be quite soft and delicate for. But like I said, when you're first starting out, you're not really going to be needing those different kind of bow variations, tilted and flat bow. You're not really going to be missing out on anything. So I would personally, if it were me, concentrate on getting the best tone I possibly could to start with, so that I could get on and learn the rest of everything else that I need to know on the violin. Then when I get more comfortable with the violin and later on down the line, then I can experiment with tilted bows. But by that point, you're going to be much more advanced and much more adept and able to. Okay, so the second way you can get a good tone is making sure that your bow is placed where it should be. So you want to be bowing roughly in the middle. So if you're bowing too far or too close to the fingerboard, you're going to get a much softer kind of wispier sound. If you're playing to the bridge, then the bridge will give you a louder sound, but it can also give you that sort of, I don't want to play it because it puts my teeth on edge, but it gives you that sort of hollow kind of scraping sort of sound. So you don't want to be too close to the bridge. You don't really want to be bowing all the time too close to the fingerboard either. So you just really want to be bowing just in the middle for the majority, 90% of the time. So this is in the middle. This is on the fingerboard. A lot more softer, but you don't want to be bowing all the way down there anyway. And this is near the bridge. So the bridge can sound a lot more scratchy when you are too close to it. You will get a lot more power near the bridge, as I said. So if you do want to add in some dynamics in your playing and make the piece that you're playing a little bit louder, then you want to be blowing a little bit closer to the bridge, but not too. And then if you want it a little bit more softer, then you'll be bowing towards the fingerboard. The other point to help you with a good tone, and this is kind of going off on a slight little tangent there, but bear with me if I may. when I just talked about in point 1 about flat or tilted bow, when you are playing with a flat bow near the bridge, then you're going to get a really nice, full, powerful sound, and that's where you really want to be flat bowed. Now when you're playing on the fingerboard, because it is a lot softer near the fingerboard, you tie that in with a tilted bow and you're going to get a really nice, soft and delicate kind of sound. So if you're playing flat bow in the middle, you'll just get kind of the most neutral, best kind of tone. If you're playing with a flat bow at the fingerboard, it's going to be a little bit softer, dynamic wise or volume wise. If you're playing near the bridge, flat bow, then it's going to be a lot more louder. If you're playing with a tilted bow at the fingerboard, then that can add to a lot more of the softness. Okay, and then the final point, number 3, to get a better tone is to use vibrato. So I kind of hummed and ahed before mentioning this one, and I want to very strongly put in there that if you are a beginner, then you should not be attempting vibrato. So I would be talking about those of you who are an advanced beginner, if that kind of makes sense. So you've been playing for about a good year. Vibrato should not be attempted for at least a year, and you need the basics down. Now a lot of people will put comments underneath my videos saying, oh, I've got the basics, I got them like in 2 weeks, but you really haven't. So even if you think you've nailed the basics, you haven't nailed the basics, because it takes a really long time to just nail anything, like when you're learning anything new, time is something that you just can't buy, and especially with playing an instrument. So yeah, you might be able to physically play all the music that you've been taught at that kind of basic level, anything that you were playing right at the start, but are you really that good at it? Can you play it just like that? Have you really got it down? Has the brain kind of ate the information up and soaked it up? No, it hasn't, because it takes months for the real skill to develop in the basics. So if you are playing or attempting vibrato too soon, the violin will shake. So when people say to me, when I'm doing vibrato, the violin is shaking, that is dead giveaway that you're practicing, or dead giveaway that you are playing vibrato too soon. So if the violin is shaking, you're not ready. You need to go away, have some more months by playing the violin, and then come back and do vibrato. So that little lecture over, assuming that you've been playing it a good year now and you're ready to do vibrato, then a vibrato is just going to make a much more dolce tone, a much sweeter tone, just a much nicer tone. So this kind of tone isn't necessarily to do with you physically doing anything on the violin, but it's more something that you can do to just increase the tone a little bit. So sounds okay, but it just sounds plain. So it makes a huge difference to a piece of music whether you are actually playing vibrato or not. And I know there are a lot of people out there that have been playing for quite some time and they're not actually playing vibrato yet. And you kind of really should. But as I said, you want to be really, really careful, because trying to attempt vibrato too soon, whether you think you've got the basics or not, is going to be very, very detrimental to your playing, just for a number of reasons. When you're first starting out, there is nothing you need vibrato for. Trust me, there are so many other things that you need to be playing first, and one of them would actually be getting your intonation. If your intonation is not really spot on, vibrato can Vibrato sort of hides it a little bit, so that means you're learning intonation by hiding it with vibrato, and that's really never a good thing to be doing. So for those of you that are capable and ready to do vibrato, then you've got to learn vibrato, and I've got 3 vibrato videos. I'll link them underneath. I've done them over various years, and they're all good videos, and they're all kind of relevant to today. And they're all still relevant today. So I'll put the link to my 3 vibrato videos. If you watch all 3 of them, I'm telling you exactly the same thing. Nothing's changed over the 3 videos, but some of them are just a lot older than others, and I'm just saying exactly the same thing, but sometimes in a different way, different camera angles. And when you get taught something, the same thing, but someone will say it a completely different way, and then the penny will drop and it'll click. So vibrato is something that's going to take months and months and months and months. Despite what anybody says, it will take you months for that hand movement to fully develop so that you can manipulate vibrato. So it will take a very, very long time. So you've just got to kind of keep plugging through it. But adding vibrato to your music and your pieces will sweeten your tone. So there we go. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I will put the links to everything that I mentioned directly underneath this video, and don't forget to check out my 1 to 30 violin course as well, also linked underneath, as well as my Patreon. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.